So hi everyone, good morning and good evening. First of all, thanks for joining another webinar from D365 Global Community. So we regularly conduct webinars and other sessions on topics related to D365. So I'll just give you an introduction on D365 Global Community or DGC. So DGC basically formed with the intention of performing networking and also just do collaboration with professionals all around the world who are working on D365 technology and also share the knowledge. So we have been conducting webinars regularly. So we had a few webinars prior to this one, and our next webinar would be on 17th April. So experts from the D365 domain will be joining us on this webinars, and we are sharing the knowledge with the community. So we have set up DGC a couple of months back, and we are getting very good response since then. So even in between our busy schedules, we find time enough to network with everyone who is from the D365 domain, and then collaborate as well as to share the knowledge. So I invite everyone just to this webinar. So Prabhu Selvam, who is a speaker today, so he will be presenting on topic D365 SharePoint integration suite. So there he'll be explaining about an overview of enterprise content management solutions available. We're talking about integration with the D365 customer engagement, as well as with line of business applications along D365. And then he'll also be talking about how we can collaborate for content between different applications with or without D365. Okay, so over to you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thanks, Feroz. So let me share my screen.
Yeah.
So you have to disconnect the screen share so that I can share.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. All right. So so today's topic is about Dynamic 365 SharePoint integration, right? So we all might have worked with integrating SharePoint with Dynamic 365. And we know that there are certain limitations, right? And the integration is not up to the mark, right? So not everybody's going with out-of-the-box integration. There is a lot of limitations. So we can go over the limitation what we have with the current integration, right? And what this the custom integration offers, right? So we can do a deep dive and go through each topic, right? Yeah, and this is the agenda for today's webinar. So first we're going to look at what is this integration suite all about, right? And the current limitation, what we have, the overall the solution architecture, how the solution has been built or designed, right? And some of the SharePoint relationship diagram, we're going to look at it, and the metadata. Then how the contents are organized within a folder structure. So we're going to go over that. And the custom SharePoint list view. Then how, say, if you want to adapt this integration, right? So how we can move the existing content, right? So we're going to look at some of the migration strategy. And finally, the benefits, right? So if we move to this, the framework or a product, right? What are the benefits we get? Then finally, we can take up the questions. Right. So about this particular framework or a product, right? So it's an enterprise SharePoint solution for content management. And this framework enables a different business application, not only Dynamics CRM, any application which is built on any platform can be easily integrated with this the framework, right? And manage the content in a centralized place, right? So this framework is very flexible and very configurable and robust, and any business application within an enterprise application or within an organization can be easily integrated, or even a new applications. So once we have this framework in place, and any new application can be easily integrated without making any changes to the code, right? And it's a centralized content management and easy access of application content in real time. So any application can access the content in a real time, just like what we have in out of the box, right? You can easily view the content what is available in SharePoint, and the search experience is seamless. So in Dynamics 365, I don't think we have a search experience, right? It's basically content associated to a record will be displayed in the grid view, right? So with this framework, you can easily search the content by a tag, right? So I can talk about what is tags, right? And so this particular framework can be integrated with any cloud application, not only Dynamics 365, even the Salesforce also can easily integrate. Apart from that, there are many applications. So when you roll out Dynamics 365 within an enterprise client or customer, there are always too many applications will be integrated with CRM, right? So those applications also can be integrated with this framework. And also it provides a better view of organizing the content. And so if somebody, so if any of you from the SharePoint background, you know the hard limit, what I'm talking about, the 5,000 hard limit. So the 5,000 limit is on the SharePoint view. It's just like a CRM view. When you go to CRM view, you see the list of records, right? In SharePoint, if there is a more than 5,000 documents, then the view won't show up, right? Then you have to do a custom view and show a filtered list of content, right? So we're going to see how this hard limit has been addressed in this framework. Then apart from that, so there is a mechanism of auto purging the content, right? So if you don't purge your content, your SharePoint size will grow up, right? Though the SharePoint comes very cheap price, but at some point of time we want to reduce the content, right? So this particular framework provides that, and it's always like it's better and cost-effective solutions. This is overall about the integration, and let's look at what are the limitations we have with the current out-of-the-box SharePoint integration, right? First thing is the contents are not centralized, right? So any content you upload from CRM, it resides only within CRM, right? So if some other application wanted to access the content, you cannot, right? And of course, everybody knows that the SharePoint doesn't carry over the CRM security, right? So anybody who have access to the SharePoint link can go through any of the content, right? And tag-based search. So what exactly it means, right? So if you take the current integration, so as soon as you open up an account or a contact, the associated content will be displayed on the grid, right? Say, for example, if you take a use case, say, I have a customer, right? And let's take, say, I have a region, right? So I want to see the content which are associated, which are available for a particular region. Say I have North America, so I have a lot of customers falls under North America, right? I want to filter down all the documents across all the customers should roll up under a North America region, right? So that is one of the tag, right? So you can search the content by a specific keyword or a tag, right? It could be any, it could be attributes or it could be field values, right? So for example, I have a customer name or I have a customer location, falls under a particular location, right? So those are all called as a tag. So you can search the content by yourself by using a specific tag, right? And there is no roll-up. So roll-up content, if you have noticed, you can enable the integrations, SharePoint integrations for any child entity of a customer contact, right? And if you go up to the one level above to a customer, you can see the roll-up of content any content which are available at the customer. It could be a child entity opportunity, or it could be anything, right? So that rollups are available only for the customer and contact, right? If I want to extend that to any other entity, because not always we go with this relationship, right? So we always do a custom relation, customization, and we have a lot of other entities, and we wanted to see the rollup, right? So that's one of the limitation, and it's very hard to figure out how the documents are organized with out-of-the-box integration, right? So that's one of the pain points. And another pain point is, as I mentioned earlier, so any content which are uploaded into CRM, right? Those contents stay within downstream or upstream system, which are integrated with CRM. And if I want to reference the CRM content, right? So for example, I always get the customer from my downstream system, like customer master, right? And also I create a customers in CRM, right? If master wants to see the content which are available at the customer, they cannot see it, because the content which are uploaded from CRM, they are resides within the SharePoint, and the integration piece, only the CRM understands it, what content I need to show, right? Not the other system can understand what content the customer has at the CRM application, and not available in mobile device. And many of us has come across this. So whenever you try to upload a content, you always get the annoying pop-up to create a folder, right? And high maintenance cost and the slow performance. So these are the current limitations we have with out-of-the-box SharePoint integration. So moving to the next slide. So this is the overall architecture of this particular the framework which we are talking about. On the left-hand side, it's a cloud. On the right-hand side, it could be a client data center or any on-premise data center, right? And this framework can be integrated with web application or mobile application or Java application or .NET application. So it doesn't matter which platform the application is built, right? But this framework is capable of integrating with any solutions or any applications, right? And the core components of this framework is the SharePoint, and we are using Azure services, one of the Azure services, which is basically the app service, right? So CRM is integrated with an app service, and through the app service, it is integrated to SharePoint, right? So app service, SharePoint, and CRM are all cloud, right? So this app service can be integrated with SharePoint Online as well, right? So there is no limitation with this framework, right? So if you look at this on the left-hand side, so how the integration is established with the SharePoint, right? So there was a custom service has been built, right? The middle layer, with this particular layer. So this is nothing but the Azure, it's basically a web API, which is hosted in Microsoft Azure platform, right? So CRM integrates with the Azure service, right? The Azure service in turn, it acts like a middle layer between SharePoint and CRM. Not only SharePoint CRM, between SharePoint and any other applications, right? If some application wants to access the content, so they always invoke this the API. The API in turn access the SharePoint and retrieves the content, right? So these are the list of methods or the operations supported by the API. You can upload the content, you can search the content by using the tag, and you can download the file, and you can delete the file, and you can delete file by entity ID. So I'll talk about what is file by entity ID and the set file attributes, right? And so this API, there are many ways you can integrate with SharePoint. Just like take CRM, I can integrate CRM through multiple programming models. I can use Web API to integrate. I can use CRM organization service to integrate, right? Similarly, the SharePoint. So we're using a client-side object model, right? So client-side object model is one of the programming method which is used to integrate with, which is used to collaborate with SharePoint API, right? So any applications which are hosted outside the SharePoint, right? So then those applications can integrate SharePoint using the client-side object model. On the right-hand side, so there are apps, mobile apps or any other applications, right? It can easily integrate with SharePoint by calling the API, right? Any modern application has the capability of invoking an API, right? So, so how the security has been handled, right? So So there's a custom header authentication has been used. So not all the application can access the API, right? So there's a client secret code maintained, right? So every application which is calling this particular service, say app A, wants to upload the document to a SharePoint, right? So it will include the content. So basically, it includes the byte array, and it calls the API upload content, right? So basically, the API gonna look at the header, right? Is this the request from the authorized application, right? So it's gonna look at the custom header. If the custom header doesn't have the client authorization code, then it rejects back saying that you're unauthorized. So same thing for the CRM as well. So this is the overall architecture. And moving to the relationship diagram, just like CRM, we maintain the tables and the entities, right? Same thing, this framework, we come up with an option like designing the entity relationship or relationship diagram in SharePoint as well, right? So this is basically a container. Assume that it's a container to consolidate or to segregate your documents, right? So any documents you upload for a customer or a call or a contact, it will be segregated based on this container, right? So it could be so basically when I say container, it's basically a document list, right? So we are trying to segregate all the applications content based on a particular entity type, right? So, and how it is related, right? So why we design the container, right? We can talk about why we designed the container in the next slides. And these are the tags. So for example, when we looked at the previous slide, talked about the container, right? Customer, call, and the contact, right? So if you look at the list of attributes on this first table, those are all the tag, right? I can access the content of the customer by using the customer unique identifier, or I can use the customer GUID, or I can use one of the field available at the customer entity level, right? So for example, business segment, it's one of the field available at the customer, right? And region market, that's one of the field available at the customer. I can use any of this field, right? I want to search a content for the COF, which is basically customer unique identifier, say 3456001, right? So I can, I'll call the API search method. I will say I want to search a content for a customer, and I'll say the COF number is this, right? It goes like a JSON request. Then the API look at this. Okay, so the request is for searching the content on the customer. Then the API searches the customer container, saying that, hey, this is the ID. Is there any document, right? So this is called searching a content based on the tag, right? So this is how the other applications, the downstream application or upstream application, can access CRM content, right? So they call the same API, and they have to maintain the unique identifier of a customer, right? So once they have the unique identifier of a customer, they can easily access the content which is uploaded at the CRM, right? For a specific customer or contact. Same way, the downstream upstream system can also upload a content to the same customer ID, right? So they can call the upload method, and they say, hey, this content is for the customer, and these are the set of attributes which are basically a tag, and this is my content, right? Just upload the content. Once you upload the content, when you come back to CRM, so CRM, just like the search, CRM, as soon as you open up the customer form, so there'll be a subgrid, a custom subgrid, which basically calls the API by basically calling the search API, saying that this is my customer, this is the customer ID, and I want to search on the customer container with this ID. Can you give me the documents? So it will list all the documents which are uploaded in CRM, and also any documents which are uploaded outside the CRM application, right? Likewise, we have created a tag for each container, right? So that tags will be used to search the content, right? That makes it as a centralized repository, right? Where anybody can access any application content by using the tag. Right, yeah. So this is the folder structure. So I'm referring to. So SharePoint, basically there'll be a root site. Under root site, so there are separate document library, which I was saying earlier slide. So if you want to extend content or upload, if you want to enable a content upload capability for any entity in CRM. So for example, I want to enable attachment content upload for an appointment entity, right? So you can go back and create a separate container for appointment. The reason is we are going to isolate the documents for each entity, right? And that will help us to overcome this 5,000 document limit, right? So every entity specific contents are segregated. You can keep it in a single container. There's no issue. But the problem is you'll have this hard limit 5,000, right? Then the container itself will not load. If somebody from SharePoint background, they understand like what I'm referring to 5,000 limit, right? The SharePoint view, if you go to SharePoint, one of the document list view, if that view contains more than 5,000 documents, then the view won't load, right? So that's to overcome that. We are just splitting up a separate container, right? Under each container, there will be a separate folder, just like CRM. If you open up a CRM, you'll see a container will be created by the entity specific. And under the entity specific, there will be a folder with the account name or the GUID concatenation of that. And inside that, there will be content available, right? Similarly, the same structure has been followed. So there will be first level will be your document list. Second level will be your folder. And third level will be your unique identifier that is helping the API to search. And the lowest level, the fourth level, is where your document is available, right? So if you just run through this, say, for example, I have a customer as a document list. Under that customer 01 is one of the folder, right? So how it works, right? The particular folder contains 5,000 documents. If you're trying to upload a content and the document is and the folder is contain more than 5,000, it immediately creates a second folder, say customer 02. So we're trying to make sure every folder should not exceed more than 5,000 documents, right? So this is how the documents has been organized in a better way. You can either navigate to SharePoint and look at this the folders, right? And this is the custom grid I'm referring to, right? So this grid, basically, it gives you ability to upload, download the content, and also it gives an ability to remove, right? And so as soon as you open up a form, CRM form, it could be account or contact, anywhere where you enable the SharePoint, right? The custom integration. And so this grid, what it does, it takes some of the attributes on the customer screen, right, or the contact screen, and uses that to search to call the API, the search method. It passes those key elements as a tag to the search operation, right? It searches again across the customer container and see any of these tags are matching with any of the content, right? And it brings up all those contents. It binds those content into the SharePoint custom grid. Then by clicking on the file name, the contents will be downloaded to the user's machine. Right. And so how we will move to this particular framework, right? If somebody is using out-of-the-box SharePoint integration, they want to move to this framework, how they can do it, right? So when you move to the custom integration, you should also take care of your existing documents, right? So this is the migration strategy, how you can move your existing documents into this the new framework, right? So basically, you have to create the containers. What are all the entities you're uploading documents? You create the containers, segregate the documents based on the container. And once you upload the content into new folder structure, you should also define your tags. What kind of tags I need, right? So that any application which are integrated to CRM can use the tag to search the content, right? So you have to determine what are the tags you need for each entity, right? Then update those tags after uploading the content into SharePoint, right? So there are many ways you can do it. There are a lot of tools available. You can use a PowerShell script to move the content, right? but at high level, the migration strategy is first step is identify what are the content and move this content to the new folder structure. The second step is update the contents tag, right? Because that is a key thing for the other application to search your content, right? And benefits, coming on to benefits, right? So what are the benefits we will get if you move to this new framework, not using out of the box integration, right? The key thing is it's an enterprise level solution. Not only CRM can integrate, even the other line of business application within your organization can integrate, right? And the contents are maintained in a centralized place, right? Not only CRM, other application, if they have the specific tags, right? It could be a customer ID, it could be a customer location, it could be customer region, right? If you maintain the tag, and if these tags are associated to the content at the SharePoint, then it makes it as a centralized repository, right? Any application, they can call the API, right? And they can pass this tag, right? So that will download all the content, right? So if CRM uploads five content for a customer, and the same 5 content can be accessed by another 10 applications, right? And they can also upload the content to the same customer, right? When you come back to CRM, you can see 10 content plus other applications content. Everything will be in a central line. You can view all the content, and the contents are accessed in a real time, right? So if the application one uploads the content, you can go to application 2. They can see the content what the application one has uploaded, right? Everything is real time. And seamless search experience, right? So I was referring to the tags, right? So if you maintain the tags across all the application, then any application can collaborate with other applications, see other applications content. And not only CRM application, any homegrown applications or any on-premise application can be easily integrated with this platform, because this is basically an API, right? You're going to call the API a specific method with a specific set of information, and very seamless experience. Upload, you can download, or you can delete, or you can overwrite. If I want to say for a customer, I have 15 documents, right? I want to delete all the content, right? So if you remember, one of the method I was talking about, delete file by entity ID, right? So you can pass the record ID of a customer and call that method. So it's going to delete all the content. So it's not hard deleting. We are soft deleting the content. So the content still remains in the SharePoint, but it won't be be available in CRM UI because we're using one of the flag to soft delete the content, just like status code. And the contents are organized in a folder structure, right? And it also addresses the 5,000 hard limit because of the multiple hierarchy folder structure. It is addressing this 5,000 limit, and also it has auto purge and multiple level security, right? So from the API, we know that it chooses a custom header for authentication. So without a custom header, you cannot call the API to access the content, right? And also like how it handles the CRM security, right? So basically, nobody has access to the SharePoint, right? No user have access to SharePoint, and the whole service is running under a specific service account, right? So people, if they go to SharePoint, they cannot access it. So any content they access, it always through the application layer, right? If they want to access a content, they have to go to CRM, right? If they want to access a content for another application, go to that application, right? And open up, say, for example, if I want to only users who have access to customers, they can only see their customers' content, not the other customers' content, right? So with this approach, right, they don't have access to SharePoint. They cannot go back and view all the customers' content. And if they go to specific customer, right, in your CRM, security is taking care what user is supposed to view, right? So using that, and all the contents are available only when you open up the form, right? So without that, you cannot access it, right? So this way, the security is taken care, right? And the roll up content at upload or download, what does it mean is, if I say a customer has 10 related entity or child entities, all the 10 entities we're uploading the content, right? Could be appointment or opportunity or call or whatever the entity contact, right? When I go to customer, I want to see all the contents which are uploaded at the child entity, right? So that kind of roll up can be easily done. In the current out of the box integration, you can see only for the customer and contact, but not for anything. So if I have an opportunity entity, the opportunity has a multiple related entity, right? And I want to see all the content rolls up at the opportunity level. That is easily doable. And it has a better performance and eliminates the additional license cost, because we're not going to give license for any of the users on the SharePoint, right? So definitely it saves the license cost. Another key thing is about the reusable, right? Since the API, it's a generic API, right? So if a new application wants to integrate, right, there is no change in the API. So that application has to call this the list of methods, right? If they want to upload, they have to call our upload method. If they want to download, they have to call the download method, right? So there is no changes on the API layer itself or the framework itself. Any new application can be onboarded easily, and they have to call the API. And if they want to search, they have to maintain those key on tags on their machine or on their database. These are the benefits. Yeah. So with this, I think we come to an end. I can take up the questions, right? Any specific questions you want to talk about or anything, or you want to understand more in detail, like how it works, right?
I don't. So if you guys have any specific questions related to the topic, you're welcome. You can open up your mic and ask the questions, or else you can just type in on the chat box. So Prabhu will be happy to answer them.
Yeah, sure. Right. So the overall idea is to overcome the limitation what the out of the box integration has, right? And also extending the content for the other application, so that it will be like more of a collaborative platform where they can see each other's content, right? That's the whole idea behind this product.
Hey Prabhu, I just want to ask you one question. So yeah, I was not able to follow the entire flow, and still I would like to ask. So is this integration only for the Dynamics 365 customer engagement users, or can it be extended for other application users as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. So this framework, right? It's an enterprise solution, right? Not only CRM, right? Any application, right? So if you look at on the right hand side, so right hand side, the client data center, the one you're seeing, that's a mobile application, right? They're not on CRM. So any application, irrespective of the platform it is, right? It could be Java application, it could be HTML with the JavaScript, or it could be a Salesforce, it could be any other application, it could be AX, right? So any application can integrate to this framework to maintain their content, not only the CRM.
Okay.
Right, and every applications. So in order to segregate the content for each application, you're going to create a separate document list, right? If it is a CRM, we're going to say CRM document list. So all the content for the CRM will be stored within that container, right? If it is a Salesforce, we have a separate container, say Salesforce. All the content. So this way, we are just segregating the content. So so each of this content is not getting messed up in the folder.
Okay, I get it.
So irrespective of, again, like I'm just stressing, irrespective of the application, right, this can be integrated, right? It could be a modern application, mobile app, or Android app, or iOS app, right? Or it could be legacy application, web-based, or Siebel, or SAP. Any application can be. So the only key thing is, if the application is capable of calling the API, right, or calling the web service, then that application can be integrated. Now, to put it that simple.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So all the core, yeah.
So is this framework is I mean freely available, or I mean it is custom built, or it is available to purchase any marketplace or anything?
It's not freely available. It's a licensed one. I can get back. So still haven't think about how to manage the license, right?
Mhm.
But
Okay.
as of now, it's not available freely.
Okay.
Right? But just wanted to share the knowledge, like how this has been designed with the team, right? If anybody's interested, just let me know. I can help you with the licensing part.
Yeah, definitely. I think I just need to talk to you on this one. So
That's right.
especially when it's come to custom development of LOBs on the Dynamics 365 domain, I would like to talk to you on that.
Right. And also we have just leverage the cloud capability, right? So all the elements related to the framework are hosted in Azure cloud, right? So you don't have to procure additional servers or anything. As far as if you have Azure subscription, you can easily port the solution into Azure.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu, I have a question.
Yep.
So this framework is like it's a new thing, or it's already existing framework?
It's an what do I say? It was built pretty recently, right? So I built this framework last year for one of the customer, and it is rolled out. So we can just take it out as a product itself, right? It's basically a product. It got implemented for one of the customer.
Okay, like last year, like we had one customer. We just wrote a WCF service, web service,
Okay.
for integrating with the SharePoint. But we didn't follow any folder structure for that. We just, I mean, put the opportunity like documents inside a single folder.
Okay. And it doesn't have any tags, right? So
Yeah.
how do you access that the content from the opportunity entity? Do you show that in CRM or you don't show it?
We show it in CRM also. Like whenever we download it in CRM, it will request the opportunity GUID and search in the SharePoint.
Okay.
From the SharePoint.
Okay. So similar to that, but you're limited to the opportunity ID, right? But if you look at this framework, where you can extend a wide variety of columns, right? You can include a lot of fields in it. Are you using?
Like in this current framework, if you're using the tag, then how can like its tag is for a specific person? If multiple person has to access a file, then how will the tag work?
Yeah. Say for example, let's take customer, right? So most of the system customer data comes from a different system, right? It comes to CRM, right? So every dependent application has to maintain the unique identifier, right? Say for example, customer has a unique identifier like customer ID, right? So we bring in the data from a downstream system to CRM. So CRM will have a customer ID and the downstream system will have a customer ID, right? Just like CRM, there are other applications within organization can source the customer from the main system, right? So the master system, say master system, customer master. So every system source the customer data from the customer master system, right? And they tend to have that unique identifier of a customer, right? So whichever system has that unique identifier of a customer, they can call this API search method by passing the customer ID, which is a tag, right? Because every goes into customer, it has a tag, right? So if you look at this, right? So if you look at this grid, document category is one of the tag, right? Expiration date is one of the tag. The COF is one of the tag, right? In the SharePoint, if you go to SharePoint, all these are a list of fields, right? Just like CRM, where you customize and add the attributes at the entity level, right? In SharePoint also, you can go to a document list, say customer, this is customer as a document list. In the customer document list, what I did, I've customized that document list and added all the attributes which are considered as a tag, right? Whenever content is uploaded, so right after uploading the content, I'm just setting those fields with this tag information, right? Now the contents are attached or associated with the tag in the SharePoint, right? The search method, what it does, if I pass, hey, I need to search content for a customer, and this is the tag, right? So tag is basically like I'm sending it as a JSON request, right? The JSON request, it contains all the tag, right? So CF will be one of the tag, which is the customer ID. So all the application which maintains the unique identifier they can use that as a tag and call the search method by passing this ID, right? So this basically downloads the content from the centralized repository.
It means
So in your case, you have the opportunity ID, right?
yeah.
Right. Say if you're sending this opportunity information to a downstream system, right? And if they maintain the CRM opportunity good, right? And they can pass the good to the search method, and the search method will search and returns the response back to them, right? They can access the content.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi Prabhu. How this acts in terms of privileges in between
Right. So it's basically it's piggybacking on CRM privileges, right? If in CRM, if users do not have access to view others' record, right, then you cannot access that particular record's content, right? So it's basically using the CRM security layer, right? Say you have access to 10 customers, right? But in system there are 50 customers.
Correct.
So those 40 customers, you cannot see the customer in CRM itself, right? So without seeing the customer, you cannot access the content for those customers, right? So with this approach, we are removing or we are not granting access to all the users to the SharePoint, right? The whole framework is running under elevated permission. So no way they can log into SharePoint to view the content. If they come back to CRM security is taking care of to show what they're supposed to view, right? So with that, we are able to achieve one of the limitation what we have, right?
Okay. So is there a way the upload and download, we can give privileges for those button as well? Only one customer who has access to view the opportunity, but he cannot upload it, only he can download in such terms.
Okay, I get it. So the granular level of permission is not there. I understand what you're saying. So if they have access to opportunity and customer only the read access, right? In that case, they should not upload the content.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So that kind of
Yes,
granular level of access is not there. If they're able to see the customer, whether it is read only or write, they can upload the content.
Okay.
But that can be extendable. We can extend it easily.
Whatever the middle layer, what that is Azure. So any right, Azure is a middle layer in between the SharePoint.
Correct. The web API, yes.
Web API. So whatever the customization we'll do, that will be in the Azure.
Correct. So the whole the middle layer, right? It resides in Azure. So that is doing this heavy lifting, right? So that's acting as a intermediate between this application and SharePoint. So without skipping that, without skipping that, you cannot access the content in SharePoint.
Is it possible to try this in our trial version? CRM we have trial in the same way we have for SharePoint and Azure as well.
So SharePoint, you can get it from O365 trial, right? You can create that, and for Azure, I think Microsoft is giving 250 credit, right? 250 credit for 12 months free. You can use it, yes. But we need to set up the solution in Azure, right? So this API and for one of the entity, we need to create the container right? So you have to create the container in SharePoint and deploy the solution in Azure, and then you can start using it and enable the web resource on one of the entity form. Then call this web resource, the one we looked at, right? The custom grid. So this is the web resource. So there is a CRM deployment and the Azure deployment and the SharePoint deployment.
Okay.
Any other questions? I hope you guys understand the overall framework, right?